Welcome to CX Riot Radio.
Now roll that beautiful bean footage.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome back to another episode of Caffeinated CX, where we talk about CX and stuff, all in a hyper-caffeinated state. All right, Daniel, welcome to Caffeinated CX. You're my first guest.
All right. I like that.
I know. Like, this is great.
First guest of 2022?
First guest. Period.
Yes.
So, that's awesome. So, what we're going to be talking about today is, so let's say you work customer service or in customer experience, or you just work for an industry that has a bad rep when it comes to those things, customer experience. Like, let's say the trades or airline, cable company, used car dealership.
Ooh, that's a scary one.
So, and where the rest of the industry kind of gives the entire industry a really bad name.
Yeah.
Right? So, and then in other segments of the customer service world, things are getting better. Right? There's good self-serve. There's, tracking where you can track your DoorDash thing from the restaurant to the to your door.
Yeah.
And so customers are expecting the same level across all mediums, just to be disappointed by this company over here, and then that company over here tarnishes all the other people in that trade or that industry. So what's the best way, as someone who's working in one of those companies, to overcome that and to maybe reach or exceed those customer expectations?
Yeah, well, that's a really good question, and I think it's actually a great topic, and especially for an industry that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I think that everybody needs to understand that customer service is customer experience, right?
Yep.
And I mean, they're kind of what you got written up, right? Experience equals customers, whatever you're saying is, yeah, right?
Yeah.
Sort of. Especially in the industry, you're right. There's a lot of automation going on right now, and it's great. I love a technology guy. I love the technology. It makes things easier for those of you that don't need to talk to anybody or don't feel the pleasure of talking to anybody, right? Like, you can log into a lot of things, book appointments online without talking to anybody, purchase things online like crazy. I've got packages coming to my house about 3 or 4 times a day. It's crazy what the automation has been, and it's great. I love it. It gives us abundance. There is a value in those services, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, in home services, right, where you're dealing face to face, and sometimes it's on the phone call, but ultimately with our service, it's going to be face to face. The value is going to come in how we answer that phone, and because the customer has so many choices.
Yeah.
Automation has also brought a lot of choices. So what was already a competitive market is now even uber competitive. And it starts with that first phone call. We talk about, all the different anxieties that our customers are going to have, right? Especially if it's plumbing or HVAC or electrical, whatever the case may be, this may be their first experience, and then again, it may not be their first experience, and you got to recognize that, right? And we got to give that customer the best possible experience. It starts with the phone call, because their first thing is going to be like, is this the right company, right? How do they normally traditionally now look for stuff, right? Before it used to be the yellow pages, that's gone away. Now it's you go Google search, right? And you look at reviews, and that's the first thing that you want to look at, or a customer is going to look at. So you want to have really good Google reviews, right? But of course, the industry's jaded, because depending on who's doing the reviews, all that kind of stuff, right? But then, so the customer is the first thing is going to be like, is this the right company, right? So that's going to be that person that answers the phone call.
Yeah.
Now, if it's booked online, it's booked online. But if your booking process online is not smooth, right?
Right.
That's a bad experience, right? And things like that might be is like either the website doesn't work, it doesn't give them times that they want, right? That's convenient for them, right? Especially in industries like this, like we force the customers to kind of work our schedule as opposed to the industry working for the customer in that regards, right? So that's a great thing right there for customer experience and providing good customer service, is allowing them to choose a date and time that works for them.
Yeah.
Within reason, right?
Right.
Within reason. But that's the first thing, right? And if you get a nice person on the phone and they just are very pleasant and they have empathy, and you can just tell and you can see the smile over the phone because of the way they're talking to you and the way they express, like that's going to bring my guards down, especially somebody who thinks that maybe the industry is jaded. If I'm a customer, that's going to bring my guard down. I'll be like, okay, well, first of all, we've just passed the first hurdle, right? I've got somebody pleasant on the phone and maybe they give me an appointment that I need, right? But then the next thing that shows up is a technician.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So let's talk about that, right? A technician shows up and he's dirty, or his uniform, he's not wearing a proper uniform, or his uniform's all tucked out. He just doesn't look fresh, right? And it could be for good reason. It could be he just got out of a crawl space, out of a really tough job, and he had to go run to this next call, right? But that's not an excuse, right? It's maybe what happened, but it shouldn't be an excuse for us. We should always be prepared to show up fresh for our customers, whether it's the first customer of the day or the last customer of the day. Regardless of how my day goes, we teach our technicians to kind of reset your mindset after every call.
Yeah.
Right. So now, if we get the proper looking technician that communicates well, shows up to the customer in the time window, right, which is a big one. That one's tough. But to show up at the right time and on the right day, I hate to say it that way, but sometimes that happens.
No, it's one of the biggest stereotypes of any home service or even any service company is, we'll be there between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m.
Yep.
And then they show up at 5:55 p.m. or they reschedule for the next day at like 4 o'clock.
Yep.
Right. So it's one big stereotype.
It's a big one. And I grew up in the call center, you're in the call center, and the worst call that a call center person can get is, where's my tech?
Yep.
Oh, that's the worst call ever, right? Talk about failure. That is failure on our end if a customer ever has to call in asking for the tech is, right?
In fact, on our Discord that we use in the call center here at Router Hero, there's a channel called When Dispatchers Fail. And no offense, dispatchers, if you're watching. It's whenever a customer has to call because they have not been contacted.
Yeah.
So, and I hate saying it, but it's a pretty lively channels on some days.
Yeah. Or how about this? The dispatcher called and they talked to the technician and they said, all right, I'm going to put your next call. Your dispatcher technician. An hour later, the customer calls you and tells you, where's my tech?
Yep.
As by all means, as a dispatcher, you're busy, you're doing things, right? And you're assuming that the technician is headed, but something has happened, right? He diverted himself to another call. All of a sudden, he decided to take a lunch break or something like that and didn't give us that information. And now we're set up for failure again. But the customer doesn't care because all these things happen behind the scenes.
Of course.
All the customer knows is that we told them somebody was on the way or that we promised a date and time. And we should always, there should be this veil of where we hide all the complexities of how hard it is for us to make that manifest. The customer should never see any of those things. And that should never, ever even be, word of mouth should never be said to the customer.
Right.
They should never know that. We shouldn't say it and we shouldn't show it to them at all.
100%.
Yeah.
That's a big pet peeve is that complexity being shown. Because dispatching is complex.
Yeah.
It is. If you've ever done dispatching, it's a hard job sometimes, most of the time. And then things that shouldn't be said to the customer, like how complex it is, or let's say if there's an issue with a vendor getting a part, that vendor then is a reflection of us, especially if we don't keep the customer updated about it.
Yeah.
So it goes from this company couldn't get the part to our company couldn't get the part.
Yeah.
So, and that creates other calls.
Yep.
So
the vendor promised you a certain date for a part, so you promised the date of install for the part, and then all of a sudden something happens, right? Especially now, I mean, with everything we got going on, with all the logistics nightmares and everything, and people being sick and being short-staffed, and it's a really tough, right?
Yeah.
But I think that those first two things that really go a long way is that you shouldn't make any excuses. No. You got to reset your mind. Every time you communicate with that customer, the way I tell my team is, and I do it in front of my team as well too, is you're always on stage. You got to always know that. Whether you think someone's watching you or not, you're always on stage and you always have to act the part. Especially, and another thing I tell all my technicians all the time is, you got to watch how you communicate around the customer's home, right? Maybe you're not communicating with the customer, but there's also cameras all over the place, doorbells, and all those things, and that's great. That's great technology, right? Well, all those things get captured, and they have a great deal of sensitivity to the microphone. I mean, they can listen to you from across the street, and so how you act and how you speak, goes a long way of them knowing whether or not it's a front or whether or not you're genuine. You know, and so that's really big. I practice that internally in the office, and I try to get them to also practice that outside and be aware of their surroundings. But customers are going to have bad experiences, whether it's a car dealership or anything like that. But really, we control. We have to do everything that we can to lower their guard, right? Not to take advantage of them, but to just so they can have a great experience as well too.
So that they know they can trust, right? They know they can depend on us, and plumbing and other trades, especially when something goes wrong, it's a highly emotional state that the customers are calling in for. Because it's not like a car where you set so much aside for maintenance and you have appointments for oil changes, things like that. Nobody really thinks about their plumbing until it stops working. Right. So that's an expense they weren't planning for. So, and then when they call in or they chat in or whatever, it's in an emotional state that they're in. So that empathy has to be like layered thick, right? And it has to be genuine empathy. It can't be like whenever you call a credit card company and ask for your balance, oh, I'm sorry to hear that you're asking for your balance, right? Which happened last time I called a credit card company. So I was like, no, you don't have to apologize for that. That's not your fault. Okay. But, so that was weird. But it's like the empathy has to be genuine, it has to be real. So and that's hard to do, and it doesn't just come from the CSRs or the call center. It comes from the dispatcher when they call them back and from the technician when they arrive. So
and I think also if people realize, folks in the industry realize as well too, right? Folks like to spend their money on things that they want, not on things that they need, right? No one ever really said, "Oh, I can't wait to get that new sewer line, to get that, a solution to my main line, or get a new." No one really thinks that way, right? A used car now, that's a little bit different, right? I mean, when you're out to buy a used car, you're gonna want to try to get something that you like and stuff like that. And most people, that's like a want purchase, right? I know I purchase cars like every couple of years and stuff. That's a want more than a need. You need a car, but you kind of can tailor around what you want with that. There's nothing sexy about a sewer line or a toilet or replacing your HVAC or water heater or anything like that. So when it's a need and not a want, it's even harder, right? So that experience has to be that much better for the customer. So because it's hard work, we all work really hard for our money, and we want to make sure that what we spend it all as well. It's a good purchase,
right. And then let's talk about it after the fact that they had their service. Right now, at this company, our company, they get a written thank you card sent to their house, and we try to implement the peak end rule, right? Because the customers are going to remember the peaks, either positive or negative, and the ending. And they're not going to remember all the small stuff in between. And if you have like a positive and a negative, that doesn't even out. They remember the positive and they remember the negative. And let's face it, human nature, they're going to remember the negative, right? So, and then they might not even be taking our peak into consideration, but our competitor that they used the week before, right? So, or the uncle that comes in saying, I could have done this cheaper.
Oh, the friend from church that could always do it cheaper.
So,
well, it's important. And I also think that while they remember the negative and the positive, really whatever that end result was is the last impression they have. So let's say the CSR, the customer service representative, answers the phone, great, and the customer loves them, and the CSR the customer service rep did the job excellently, booked it a time that worked right. The technician shows up on time, is fantastic, provides solutions. The customer is like, okay, great, let's choose option number 1 or 2 or 3, whatever the case may be. And then the install crew comes out and they're not sharp. They don't have all the details. They don't show up on time. So all this value we built at the front end of the service call,
Yep.
and then we come out at the end and we do something not right,
Right.
or not to what the customer thought that they were going to get, the product that they were going to get, and stuff like that. And that's the last impression they get. So
Yep.
great job by the tech, great job by the CSR, and then all of a sudden we got a bad experience. Not that happens a lot, but it happens, right? And it happens. And so it's like all this, just value, it's gone out the window.
Yep.
It just
Yeah,
goes right out the window with
just
that last
craters.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the thing is that you don't always find out about that. Because customers, I always like when I get to talk to a customer, even if it's a bad experience, because think about the ones that didn't take the time to actually
Right.
tell us that there was a problem, and then you can't self-correct on that, right? I mean, I can apologize on that, and I always tell my customers, I always take a lot of notes, and I say, okay, this is a scenario, this is what I'm going to do, these are the actions I'm going to take as general manager. Is, first of all, thank you for giving me the feedback, and that everybody does, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you had this experience, that means that some of our other customers may have
Right.
had this experience and just didn't share it with us. And here are the steps that I'm going to take to go forward so that we can either coach or change a process, whatever the case may be. And again, that's me building the value back with the customer.
Yeah.
And usually the customers are pretty happy, and
Right.
you can't win them all, but I do win a good bit of them. And you try to save the experience, but once it's gone sour, it's really,
Yeah.
really hard to come back from that.
Right. And for every one complaint, there's about a lot more that just never said anything, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's any industry, that's any customer base. So, and then what you described was pretty much Otter, which is over the top empathy and rapport.
Yeah.
Right, which is something that it's one of our principles here. So, because you want to go over the top, especially with that rapport, because you want to build that trust, especially when they're in such an emotional state. They can't flush their toilet, or sewage is backing up into their kid's bathtub,
Oh,
stuff like that. So,
yeah. Yeah, those are tough ones. I've had to deal with a few of those, and
Yeah.
those are tough ones. But, again, I think if you ultimately you're genuine, you can build the value, and I think you can usually overcome these things.
100%. 100%. So, any other tips or tricks to excel and provide that experience in a industry that might not have a good rep?
Yeah, no, I think the biggest thing that any takeaway I would tell you to take from this is you got to just reset your mind. Whatever you got going on, and sometimes it's hard to separate the personal from the professional, but, because we're people, right? And we got things going on. We're not going to be perfect 100% of the time. But I think if you work really hard to just reset your mindset and treat that customer like the first customer of the day, and you really, even if you got 3 more calls after them, forget about those 3 other calls, right? This is the call, this is the customer that you need to be worried about and concerned with, and making sure you're taking care of is the one in front of you.
Right.
Don't worry about those other calls. Those calls will get ran. You'll run those calls. Don't worry about the phone calls if you got 30 calls or 100. I used to work in a call center where we always have 400 calls in queue, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm never getting out of here, right? But you just gotta take it one call at a time. That's all you can do.
Yeah. Those call centers still exist too.
Yeah.
And they're still run exactly the same way they were run 15 to 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, awfully. So,
Yep.
not all. Most. So, 12-page verbatim scripts, come on.
Oh yeah.
So, all right. So, thanks for joining me on Caffeinated CX.
Yeah, thanks for
So-
having me. I told you I wanted to be a part of it,
Yeah.
and I appreciate you for
Yeah.
bringing me on. I'd be more than happy to come back and talk about some other great
Yeah.
subjects, because I love the content, and I think that we're bringing awareness, right? You're
Yeah.
bringing awareness to the industry, and to folks that are maybe even thinking about getting into call center, working into a
Yeah.
trade. All the
Yeah.
they need to see everything, right?
That's the goal.
Yeah.
So, the goal is to change the industry for the better. Since I've been in this industry since I was 17, which is 23 years ago now.
Wow.
So, I'm still in high school.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
that's awesome.
So, all right, guys, have a good one. And yeah,